Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I am doing the spoiler tag. This was created by Scott and Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I will link their original below, and I was tagged by Courtney Ferriter, and I will link her version below as well. So I am someone who really highly avoids spoilers, so I'm excited to do this tag. Question one is, what do you consider a spoiler? I think for me, spoilers are more to do with plot. I don't think you can spoil a character, and anything roughly to do with the ending can be a spoiler, even if it's not a specific plot point. Just saying things like, oh, the ending is happy or the ending is sad, things like that can kind of be spoiler territory as well. And question two is, does the genre you're reading impact what you consider to be a spoiler? And yes, it does. There are certain genres where you expect certain things to happen, or there are certain tropes out there. And this example has been given by other people before, but romance is a very good example of this, where you expect the characters to end up together. So it's not really a spoiler to say, oh, I just love how the characters end up together in novel X, Y, or Z. We know that's going to happen. It's a romance novel. And in contrast, a lot of more general fiction or literary fiction, whatever you want to call it, a lot of times the plot doesn't really matter. And even if you gave me a play-by-play of this happens and then this happens and then this happens and then this happens, it doesn't really matter, because the book is about the character dealing with those things, and I could hear all of those plot points and not really be affected by them, I guess. Question three is, all the best bits are in the trailer. Sometimes a synopsis can be too detailed. Do you research books prior to reading them or not? So I do minimal research sometimes. A lot of times I'll do none, and I'll just go on recommendations based on booktubers or people who know my reading tastes or who have similar reading tastes to me, where I trust that it sounds good, or I might have just heard them describe it in one sentence where I feel like, oh, the premise of that is interesting, I would like to pick that up. And if the premise is interesting and it goes on my TBR, I don't necessarily read the blurb or anything on Goodreads or any reviews or anything online, because sometimes those blurbs give away a lot of information that I would prefer not to have known. So in those cases, I do minimal research. Now, if it's a book that I haven't heard of from someone I follow on BookTube or from a friend or whatever, and I know nothing, I've just seen it maybe advertised, or maybe it comes up in my recommended on my e-reader or something, then I will click on it and read the blurb to see if it's something that I'm interested in. But that's really the only time I look into what the book is about. Other than that, I go off of recommendation pretty much, because I also I will DNF a book if I'm not liking it, so I don't feel like I am going to waste any time picking up a book and then deciding that it's not for me. So yeah, that's where I stand on reading information ahead of time. Question four is, sometimes the introduction or translator notes can spoil the ending, especially for classics. Has this ever happened to you? Yes, but I can't remember what book it was, but I do remember reading an introduction or foreword or something along those lines, and it giving away some major detail of the book. And I was like, why would you say that? And I didn't realize at the time that this is quite common in introductions and classics. So I didn't realize that. I read the introduction. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of a bummer. I know that now. Oh, well. And ever since then, I think it happened once or twice. And now I don't ever read an introduction to anything. I want to interpret the book the way I want to. I want to get something out of the book that's unique to me, and I will go back and read the introduction afterwards, and maybe that will give me some more context or whatever. And if I feel like, oh geez, that information would have been good to know ahead of time, then, well, I'll just reread the book at a later date, having known now the information in the introduction. I don't ever feel like the information in the introduction is necessary for my enjoyment of the book, so I'd rather just skip it and avoid spoilers. And this actually happened to me. I won't name the book because I don't want to give away for anything else, but like about a year or so ago, I was reading a classic and I skipped the introduction. I was kind of hemming and hawing, like, oh, maybe I'll read this. Oh no, like I'll skip it because I don't want to learn anything. And I read the book and I went back and read the introduction. And literally in the introduction it said like, so at the end when so-and-so dies by insert like the circumstances here, this really shows you about insert theme or commentary or whatever they were talking about. And I thought, wow, I am so glad that I didn't read this and learned that one of the main protagonists dies in this very specific way. Anyway, so yes, it has happened to me, but I also avoid it now by not reading that. Question number 5 is, name a time somebody spoiled a novel for you. I don't remember any person doing this. I've been spoiled on the internet. One of the Harry Potter novels was, one of the major plot points was spoiled for me because of some like internet meme that wasn't even labeled as being related to the book, and I clicked on it and I was like, oh, like now I know what happens. Anyway, but whatever. Question number 6 is, have you ever spoiled a novel for somebody else? Not that I know of. Because I like to go into books knowing relatively little, I guess I just kind of assume that other people don't want to know a whole lot. So when I review books, I might give a very general or brief description of what it's about or the premise. And I might give an indication of like some of the themes that I found in the book. But I won't go into like any details or anything like that. So I really don't think I have. I hope I haven't. Question number 7 is, if spoilers ruin novels, are there some authors or genres you can't reread? So here's where I feel like I have some contradictory opinions. So on the one hand, I do not like having spoilers for books. I don't want to know what's happening. I just want a premise or a very like brief idea, like, or a general idea of what the book is going to be about. But I don't want to know anything about anything. I like going in with fresh eyes. On the other hand, I really do not think that spoilers ruin novels. Even for me, someone who likes to go in not knowing much, if I do get spoiled for a plot point, it doesn't spoil the book. I can reread a book if it's been spoiled the same way, or I could read a book that's been spoiled in the same way that I could reread a book that I've obviously already read and know what happens in. So I've always kind of had this conflicting thing in my head about like, oh, I don't like spoilers, but if I get a spoiler, like I can still enjoy a book. And I always thought that was a little bit contradictory, but Hannah from Hannah's Books, she did this tag. I will link it below because I thought her version was really interesting. But something she said that is just going to be like tattooed on my brain now is, she said, spoilers ruin the novelty, not the novel. And I thought this summed up my thoughts on spoilers perfectly, because I don't think spoilers ruin the novel. You can still enjoy a novel, but they do spoil the novelty. I happen to be someone who enjoys that novelty, and I enjoy surprises. Like even in like my non-bookish life, like if my husband's like buying me something for my birthday and he's like, oh, what kind of things do you want? I'm like, I'm not telling, like, no, surprise me. I don't want to know. I love the feeling of not knowing and being surprised. And I enjoy the novelty aspect, but if that novelty is ruined, that is a separate issue for me from the novel being ruined. So thank you, Hannah, for that phrase, because it has really given me words to express how I feel about this. Oh, I guess the original question were, are there any authors or genres you can't reread? And the answer is no, I can reread anything. The same way that I can rewatch a movie that I've watched 15 times. If I like it, I'll rewatch it, I'll reread it. Question 8 is, when reviewing, are you spoiler free? Does this limit your ability to discuss? So I am spoiler free, like I said. I don't really like knowing a whole lot, so I guess I just assume other people don't want a lot of information. Does it limit my ability to discuss? Not up until this point, because I have not, as of today, done a like single book review. I've always done wrap-ups, and so in those cases I try to keep my discussion very minimal anyway. There is a book that I'm planning to do a single book review on, and the reason I haven't put it together yet is I'm struggling to find the balance of all of the things about the book that I really want to talk about, and balancing that out with not spoiling anything for anybody. So it can limit. I just haven't encountered that yet, because I just do wrap-ups and they're very brief. And question 9 is just a shout out. So tell us about 5 channels you enjoy and then tag them. So I have chosen 5 channels that have under 1,000 subscribers, because what's the point of shouting out like a super big channel? So I am going to shout out Sam at Paper Not Books. I am going to shout out Nicole at Nicole is Here to Learn. I am going to shout out Laurel Ann at Insert Book Pun Here. I am going to shout out Natalie at Dancing Lawn. And I am going to shout out Janae at Coffee and Copyrights. Those are 5 channels whose content I really, really enjoy, and I think more people should check them out. So that's all from me today. I hope everyone's doing really well, and we'll chat soon. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care.